Amelia's elder sister Nancy recently moved to Santa Barbara, California with her family, her husband Arthur, and their 14-year-old son George. Amelia studied at the BII University in Los Angeles and stayed at the dorm there. She was excited when she heard Nancy moved to California. But this year at college, things had been so tough, Amelia couldn't manage to visit her sister before the spring break, and before she even knew it, it had been nearly 5 months since they moved already. Nancy, I'm so sorry I couldn't make it to the housewarming. But spring break is in 2 days, and don't worry, I'm boarding a bus to Santa Barbara as soon as I get out of college that day. Oh, okay, that's actually great news.
What happened? You don't sound so happy. What's wrong?
Amelia, the house is just not what I expected it to be. There are some issues here. Like what? You can always get it repaired. You'll see it for yourself when you come over. How long will you be staying? 2 whole weeks, sis. I can't wait. Great, I'll tell Arthur to pick you up at the terminal. 2 days later, Amelia traveled to Santa Barbara. The drive back home took about half an hour. The house was all right. Nothing too grand, but decent. A big front yard, a cozy porch. Amelia was about to ring the bell when Arthur quickly stopped her. He took out his keys and searched for the right one. Don't ring the bell, Amelia. Why? It doesn't work? Yeah, it doesn't work. Amelia hurried in and hugged her sister. You're finally here. Amelia looked around. Where's little Georgie? You're up for a surprise. Little Georgie isn't so little anymore. He's almost your height. He'll be back soon from the park. Come on, I'll show you to your room. Nancy escorted Amelia upstairs. As they walked by each room, Amelia stepped into the master bedroom. Wow, this is awesome. There's even a balcony. Whose room is this? Nancy pulled Amelia out. No one stays in this room. I'll show you your room. It's right across from mine. Nancy took Amelia to the end of the hall. This is your room. If no one's staying in that room, can't I just stay for these 2 weeks? Nancy sighed. Remember I told you there are some issues? There's a leakage on the ceiling in there. Well, at least we can go sit out in the balcony at night. That would be nice. Nancy said as she started unpacking. No, we keep the balcony closed. There are wild animals in the backyard. Just then, Nancy got a call from George. Mom, open the door, I'm here. 1 minute, I'll be down. Amelia furrowed her brows. Why don't you guys just get the doorbell fixed? Nancy looked at her sister. Who told you the doorbell was broken? Arthur was saying. Oh, right. Actually, it is broken, Nancy said as she went to answer the door. As soon as she was down the stairs, Amelia went to the room and opened the balcony door. A cool breeze flew in. Amelia loved the view of the backyard. There was a tall fence barricading the whole garden right under the balcony. But Amelia couldn't help but notice Nancy was trying to hide something from her. What was it? As soon as Amelia heard her nephew's voice, she hurried out the room and went downstairs. Georgie, look at you! You're practically a man now. Yeah, and you're practically an old lady now, too. Hey, I'm only 25. Amelia rolled her eyes and messed up George's hair. I got something for you. She ran back upstairs and brought down all the gifts she had brought. After catching up with the family, she and George went out for an evening walk while Arthur headed off to his study and Nancy went to prepare dinner. The walk outside went by in learning about George's secret girlfriends and how he fooled Nancy into buying him tickets to a concert that wasn't actually intended to be for young adults. Wow, I gotta admit, you're a cool kid, but here's the tip. You don't want to be proven dumb, so don't do anything stupid and get arrested or something. It was nearly 9 by the time Amelia and George got home. Shoot, I forgot my keys again, George said as he took out his phone to call Nancy. Amelia shrugged and went up to the bell. What's wrong with this thing? Why don't you just knock on the door? Just when Nancy was about to knock, George quickly pulled her away. "What do you think you're doing? Didn't Mom tell you we're not allowed to ring the bell or knock the door?" "What? There's a rule?" "It's not a rule, it's a precaution." "Against what? Why have you all been acting so weird?" "There's something here. It's hard to believe, no one does when they hear about what's been happening here. But when you witness it for yourself, you're gonna want to pack your bags and leave." The day we moved in was the most terrifying. Dad had went out to get some food, cause everything was still a mess in here. It happened around 7, moments after he came back. We were all worried sick hearing the screams of a woman from the backyard. Believe me, Aunt Amelia, you won't see anyone there, but you will hear it like someone is screaming in your ears. Dad assumed someone was in trouble in the woods, so he took his flashlight and went out to search. But the strangest thing happened. The further he went out, the more distant the noise became. And the closer he returned, the louder the screams were. It was crazy horrifying. When it starts, it continues for a while until it fades out. We thought it was over, but the very next morning it happened again, and again, and again. We soon realized ringing the bell or constantly knocking on the door usually triggered it. But sometimes a shattering glass or dropping something heavy also can make it happen. We tried figuring exactly where the screams are from, and the loudest it gets is near the balcony outside the room on the 2nd floor. You'll have to hold your ears shut if you want to stand there. We don't know how or why it happens, but we'd rather not suffer through it again. Amelia raised her brow and held her hips. "You gotta be kidding me. You guys planned this out to scare me, right?" Amelia and George tackled each other till Amelia finally managed to knock on the door. George widened his eyes. "Amelia, you're gonna regret this." Amelia laughed as Nancy hurried to open the door. She had a panicked look on her face. "You two think this is some kind of joke?" "Mom, she wouldn't listen." "George, you should have stopped her." Amelia went inside, still laughing. "What is it? I don't hear anything." Just then, there was a loud slamming noise from upstairs, as if someone banged the door shut, forcefully. Amelia furrowed her brows and looked at Nancy. She immediately ran upstairs, hearing the dreadful screams. She literally flipped the whole room over, searching from where the noise was coming from. But soon anxiety set in as the screams only got louder. Paranoid, Amelia opened the balcony. She held her ears in pain to the shrilling noise. The experience was agonizing, feeling that someone was being tortured, but seeing no one around you. "What is this, Nancy? How did you guys do this? Turn it off!" Nancy pulled Amelia out and locked the door to the balcony. "It's not a prank, Amelia. It happens, and that's why we've been so careful not to make too much noise around here." "How can this be? You're saying this balcony is haunted. Did you ask the neighbors about it? Did you at least try to get information on the previous owners or something? Did they experience the same thing? Mom brought over this weird lady who tried to purify the house with some crazy stinking smoke, but it didn't work. Your mom's the only weird lady here. I can't believe you didn't get real information on the house yet." "Amelia, it's not good to interfere with the paranormal. Things only get worse before they get better." I spoke to the elderly woman. She was quite experienced in these matters. She sensed a wicked presence here. George coughed as he said, "The weird lady was scared sick. It was kind of funny." "This is unbelievable. There has to be an explanation. This obviously isn't a crazy phenomenon." That night, after Nancy and Arthur went to bed, George and Amelia stayed up late researching on the property. They found out the house had been bought and sold among many hands before Nancy and Arthur bought it, and all had only stayed for less than a year. "Hey, look at this. The Andersons owned this house in the 1960s for 30 whole years before it was sold." "Great, search up the Andersons in Santa Barbara during that time." One click opened up numerous search results. How are we going to look through all of this? How about we go to the local library? We can go through the news archive there. It'll take a few hours, but less than what it would take to cancel out all these results. We're bound to find something. The next day, George took Amelia to the library. They hadn't even realized that time had gone by, and the library would close soon. One of the librarians came to them and asked, "I've been watching you two for some time. What have you been searching for all day?" "We're trying to get information on a certain Anderson's family that lived on Oak Street in the 1960s and 1990s. But unfortunately, this is turning out to be one tough search." Anderson's family from Oak Street? You're mistaken. It wasn't a family, but a single woman. Her name was Stella Anderson, I believe. Everyone knows her story in this neighborhood. George and Amelia looked at each other. They gave the librarian their address and confirmed if she was speaking of this home. The librarian was an elderly woman. She couldn't point out the exact address, but she took George and Amelia to her desk and searched up Stella Anderson. George and Amelia were shocked to discover Stella Anderson was found lifeless in her backyard back in 1989, in the house that they now lived in. Her stomach had been injured through from the spiked fence when she jumped off the balcony trying to rescue herself. When police reports came out, it was discovered that someone had broken in and had taken advantage of the lonely woman. It was her family home and she took care of it on her own. At that time, not many people lived there. There weren't any neighbors around to hear her cry. It was truly a tragic event. Since then, security measures had been taken in the area, but the intruder had never been found. George and Amelia told the librarian what they had experienced. She fixed her glasses and looked at the two. "I've heard strange occurrences like this before. Perhaps her soul will never get peace until her perpetrator is found. Some people pass away in this world before justice even comes near to being served." When Nancy and Arthur found out, they were grieved and worried. Perhaps it's the soul of the helpless woman who screams for help. Every time she senses an outsider enter the house, she goes through the pain she went through that tragic day. Since then, the balcony of the room on the second floor had been locked, and the fence in the backyard had been removed. Nancy and her family tried their best to relieve the spirit that had been suffering for so long. Sometimes, some things are hard to believe, but strange things do happen in this world indeed. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.